Very good evening to you. I'm Lisa Broom with the CBC Evening News. In our top story tonight, the Ministry of Health has put together a proposal for a national health insurance fund. But Health Minister John Boyce says while it has been presented to the Subcommittee on Social Policy, the proposal still has to go to the full cabinet for consideration. He was giving a review of parts of the healthcare system during the Astor B. Watts lunchtime lecture at DLP headquarters. Now, Mr. Boyce says the overall aim is to design a funding mechanism that will determine who is required to put money into the scheme and how much they will contribute.
It has to be the kind of investment fund which will grow with time over the years and become, like the National Insurance Fund, a very strong basis on which we can then draw for special healthcare services. So the point is, yes, the government of Barbados is committed to the funding of our public healthcare through taxation, and that is the program that we are following.
The Education Ministry has completed its appointment of teachers, with just over 700 being given official papers. This from Minister Ronald Jones, who says the last batch were given their appointment letters about 3 days ago. It's a follow-up from the 400 teachers whose positions in the system were made permanent early last month.
We did it in two tranches, just like 2 weeks apart. So some 748 persons were appointed in that total group. There would be some appointments from time to time as persons retire or they seek other pastures for employment. So we wouldn't be around any time in the future 300 persons being appointed, because as persons move out of the system, persons in the system will be appointed in due course.
Mr. Jones also commented on the rocky relationship between the ministry and the teachers' unions, noting that both sides have had cordial meetings recently. He says one of the major issues, the docking of teachers' pay when they attended unsanctioned meetings, is now before the courts.
My position is if there is a matter that is intractable, then the court is the final arbiter. And they have done what is the correct thing, taking it before the courts. I had suggested that a good time ago, that if this is a problem, take it before the courts and let the courts decide. I wouldn't say they followed my advice, but that they acted on their own initiative. To so do, of course, I would patiently wait on the decision of the courts in such a matter.
About 50 parents with children who attended the Alma Paris School turned up for a meeting at the Ministry of Education yesterday. Most of them were left with mixed feelings by the end of the 30-minute meeting. They were called to be told the 3 schools where their children would be allocated once the St. Peter institution closed for the last time yesterday. The 148 students at the Alma Paris School are to be divided among the Darrell Jordan Secondary, St. George Secondary and Grantley Adams Memorial School. According to the parents, they were informed by ministry officials at the meeting that the allocations were made based on the child's address. Now, speaking to CBC News after the meeting at the ministry's headquarters, the parents said they were asked to sign a letter indicating that they accepted the transfers. The parents had mixed feelings about the development, among them Corrine Hoyt, whose 12-year-old son has been allocated to Grantley Adams.
I am satisfied. I thank God for life. Everything good. The other boy went there, so he should add in, because the other boy that want he to go, his second boy. But he said he want to go St. Lucie. But God is good. Grantley Adams is still somewhere.
Another parent who did not want to be identified said he would have preferred his child closer to home.
Actually, there's allocating to St. George. Actually, I don't feel good about it because it's actually too far out from his location. Actually, he lives in St. James.
Andrea Proverb's 16-year-old son is one of those who is at a crossroad.
They can't place him in the school because he's already at 16. So the next step for him is probably SJPP, or Skills Vocational Training Board. He did the promotion exams to go up to upper fifth. I was just wondering why he wasn't placed in the school that he could continue upper fifth.
Ms. Proverbs and a few other parents told the media they were unsure of what to do next, but Education Minister Ronald Jones says the ministry will work with her and the others to get their children placed at one of the technical vocational institutions. He says Alma Paris hasn't taken in new students for the last 2 years and its closure was unavoidable. Mr. Jones adds there is more than enough space at the 3 schools where the former Alma Paris students will be placed.
They can go into a school, they can be exposed in smaller groups to strong remedial teaching. They could still be involved in other sporting and cultural activities which are also essential to pull out the cognitive or academic technical vocational side of them, and they can settle down and do well.
Mr. Jones explains that a new school planned for Searles in Christchurch will help to even out the number of children in schools across the island, including the void now left by Alma Paris. Now, at least one other parent refused to accept the transfer, and she said she would take the matter further. Missing patient files could soon be a thing of the past at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Officials are confident this will be eliminated through the rollout of a back file conversion project. The QEH has already identified 3 pilot sites: oncology, the artificial kidney unit, and the hematology outpatient clinic. Director of Support Services Louise Bobb says the program will see the scanning and indexing of paper medical records of all patients seen in the past 2 years. These records will then be attached to the patient's electronic medical record and later imported into its MedData software program. Ms. Bobb is assuring Barbadians of confidentiality, saying the QEH is ensuring the records are safeguarded in its system against threats such as hacking.
We are currently in discussions with a potential provider for the provision of a vulnerability analysis with respect to cyber attack threats. And what it's intended to do is to determine the level of exposure that we may potentially have to cyber attacks and security risks, and then identifying that exposure, that level, and closing that gap. So pretty soon we will be undertaking a cyber threat analysis program.
The $250,000 backfile conversion project will be implemented over a 6-month period. In the interim, Ms. Bobb says staff is being trained and the physical storage facility reorganized.
So what we have done is set up some purpose-built containers, and we've identified a area within a compound where we have reorganized the storage of our medical records for both the inactive records and the death notes. And you'll see how that has unfolded when we go on the tour of the select areas. So that is underpinned by the implementation of a software that helps us to track, store and archive and monitor and the movement of medical records in and out of the storage facilities and to the various departments.
The Barbados Water Authority has officially launched its personal water tank program. Chairman of the BWA, Dr. Atlee Brathwaite, signed an agreement with the City of Bridgetown Cooperative Credit Union Limited, which will provide funding for the tanks. Dr. Brathwaite says the tank system will be managed by the BWA and will be available first to the most vulnerable in the parishes affected by drought and then to wider Barbados.
This is a public-private sector partnership which offers residents in St. John, St. Peter, St. Joseph, St. Andrew and St. Thomas a 400-gallon tank pump fittings and installation on a full tank solution under a 5-year interest-free hire purchase agreement from the Barbados Water Authority. It will be connected to regular plumbing and filled by the BWA tankers under the Rapid Response Unit during outages. Residents in those areas who genuinely cannot afford the cost of the system will undergo a means test and be offered an interest-free loan from the Barbados Water Authority.
And for those who cannot afford a loan, well, this is where the credit union comes in. President of COB, Henderson Williams, says the association is timely.
The partnership forged between the BWA and the COB has the potential to transform the lives of our relatives, friends, and family. By educating and modifying our behavior in relation to the use of our water resources. The issue of water conservation and the responsibility for the use of water continues to be of paramount importance to all Barbadians.
The pumps connected to the water tanks are also expected to be very energy efficient and will not increase electricity bills by much. In fact, engineer at the authority Nathan Hart says the pump will use 100 watts of electricity, which is just as much as a light bulb.
Comes in from Barbados Water Authority when there's water. It stores in the tank. When it works on a pressure system, what it means is that when the pump senses that there's a loss of pressure from Barbados Water Authority, it will automatically cut in on its own without the householder turning on any buttons and increase the pressure and flow of water to the house. This particular pump can pump up to 3 stories high. And we are now testing a new pump which can do of a similar magnitude but 86% less energy.
We'll have more news after this break. Stay with us.
Don't let your data experience slow you down. Step up to Digicel, Barbados' fastest 4G network, more than twice as fast as the slow network. Get more with Digicel. Digicel, the fastest 4G network in Barbados. Dial *153 to sign up to Digicel today.
We start with a yes. But when life takes unexpected turns, you can still say yes to more. The Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card gives you points with every purchase that you can use to travel to anywhere. Plus, with just 20,000 Scotia points, you can say yes to destinations. With Scotiabank Aero Platinum MasterCard credit card, it's easier to say yes to everything. Apply today.
When the crowds descend on Bushy Park for the big Soca Royale competitions, we will be there. When the social commentators in Kaiso face off for the Pickety Crop finals, we will be there. CBC, capturing it and sharing it all with you on pay-per-view via MCTV or web stream on www.cropover.cbc.bb. CBC, your link to the festival.
Plug into all. This is Stiffy Star Quality, the reigning 2016 Bashma Soca King, and this is 2017. So we want y'all to get ready to welcome the king again and defending the crown. So we plug into all. Everybody, calm down. You can get on board. Plug into all.
So, in an effort to test the credibility of this so-called speed squad, we have some random questions for you to answer. How quickly can you change clothes? The bag of groceries on the table. How fast can you guys prepare a meal? And go. All right. Which network gives you the speed you prefer and enjoy?
Join the fastest team and shift your Flow Fiber broadband into high gear by upgrading now at no extra cost for 3 months. Plus, enjoy the best of Flow TV for free.
Last question. Who's the fastest?
I had to ask.
Upgrade now.
Let there be decency on the stage for the Bashment Soca event scheduled for tonight. This is the plea from Chief Executive Officer at the National Cultural Foundation, Cranston Brown. He made the comments at the launch of this year's Masi Pan Pandisand, while adding that he is aware of the discussion that surrounds this genre and the lewd lyrics and behavior that some accompany it.
As the agency responsible for the execution of this festival and the development of culture, we are appealing to the promoters to ensure that the performers at their events maintain some level of decency and decorum on stage. In this age of social media and the immediacy of the news environment, these things are damaging not only to the promoters of the event, but also to the image of the festival on a world stage.
Well, Mr. Brown says Bashment Soca is an example of a genre that has evolved like steel pan and should not be shelved. But he also took the opportunity to remind performers of the guidelines and what is acceptable.
There's a need for strict performance contracts that govern the presentation on these stages. On all of the NCS platforms, including Masi Pan Pandisand, the performer agrees to provide us with the list of names of everybody accompanying them and their specific functions on stage. And it should be expressly stated that no child under a stated age should be allowed backstage or on stage as part of the entourage or the performance at an event without prior authorization and, of course, the detailed information on the action that he/she will be required to perform.
Masi Pan Pandisand will continue to be a true Caribbean event that will support young talent. That's the consolation from the Director of Sales and Marketing, Masi Distribution, Mark Doherty. He was speaking at the launch of the Masi Pan Pandisand at the handover of a $60,000 check to the Chief Executive Officer at the National Cultural Foundation, Cranston Brown.
This event has provided local pan players with the platform and exposure needed to play alongside some of the top steel pan groups across the region. Indeed, during the 15-year history of Pan Pandisand, we have had some of the best bands from Trinidad and Tobago, including our own Masi Trinidad All-Stars, the most recent of them as well as Exodus, Phase 2, Pan Groove, and Skittle Bunch.
Producer of Masi Pan Pandisand, Randy Eastman, says the schedule for the event will feature a new act and has been organized in such a way to encourage talented young people.
Darrell Jordan Secondary School State Orchestra is up next, and that is led by Mr. Ryan Blackman. And this group has been doing great work over the last year, and we have decided that they should be featured at the Masi Pan on Sand on the main stage. We have a new feature this year, Mr. Dwight Callender, who's a solo pan player, and he is featured with the popular dance group Rhythm Tribe, and they're accompanied by DJ Hachi and Sis. And it's a coordinated effort by these three persons to put together a 20-minute set of performance, dance, steel pan, and DJ skills.
Law students of the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus will be able to benefit from internships at the Supreme Court. This comes as the university and the Supreme Court of Barbados signed a memorandum of understanding. Principal and Pro-Vice Chancellor Professor Udine Barreto described the MOU as a groundbreaking feat and noted it ties in with one of her aims to allow students to get practical experience.
At the university, we are constantly searching for job training opportunities to help our students prepare for the world of work. And on their behalf, I wish to offer our sincere gratitude to the Supreme Court of Barbados. 2 weeks ago, I signed an MOU with the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry on behalf of the campus. And that too will give Cave Hill students the chance to work across the business sector in companies based at home and abroad.
Dean of the Faculty of Law, Dr. David Berry, says the MOU will help to deepen the relationship between the two entities.
The formal MOU we have before us today will greatly strengthen our ties and expand our areas of interaction. It facilitates activities in a number of areas, including the holding of workshops and seminars, and these would be to provide continuing legal education to both members of the judiciary and judicial officers of the court, the holding of joint colloquia to discuss research, academic papers, and common issues and concerns, the facilitation of internships allowing students from the Faculty of Law to assist the court. These internships, I should add, have already commenced this summer thanks to the kind assistance of the Chief Justice and the Registrar.
While commending the signing of the MOU, Chief Justice Sir Marston Gibson reminded the university to do more to help with the country's social development.
The university has some further role to play other than the provisions of LLBs and LLMs and PhDs and MScs. It has to play a role in the general development of our society. And how are we going to do this? The way we're going to do this is by having the university be involved further in not just teaching, but arranging for continuing development of professionals.
We'll get a wrap-up of the 38th Heads of Government Conference in our regional segment. That's coming up after the break.
This age, he will have his first friend. He will share hugs, but some dirt as well, and maybe a lot more. Because strong friendships need strong children, protect them with Nestle Clim 1 Plus. Contains vitamins and minerals that help them to achieve 100% protection plus nutrition. And Pre-Bio 1 that together contribute to maintaining a healthy digestive system and a normal immune system. Nestle Clim 1 Plus. Your love, their future.
Distributed by Massey Distribution.
On Friday, July 14th, it's endless possibilities at the First Citizens Pan Fusion, featuring the multi-talented Dane Gulson from Trinidad and the uncut sounds of the Ziggy Walker Azucar Orchestra. Join us as Nicholas Branco and friends salute Adrian Buhusbands in a musical tribute, taking you back to the days of the Chimborazo and the Culture Train. First time in Barbados, it's going to be track versus steel, a musical clash when DJ Lil Rick goes up against the Azucar Orchestra. Then party on the dance floor at the Fantasy After Party with DJ Lil Rick spinning the music of the season. On Friday, July 14th at 8 p.m., the tranquil grounds of Alara Court will transform with musical magic. Early bird general tickets, $50 to relax on the grounds. Priority seating, $75. Regular tickets, $60 and $85 respectively. Or kick back in an all-inclusive lounge for $230. The First Citizens Pan Fusion. Endless possibilities where everyone parties like royalty.
I have diabetes and nothing stops me because I decided to maintain my blood sugar spikes and weight in control. That's why I choose Glucerna Hunger Smart. It helps me manage hunger and minimize blood sugar spikes.
Glucerna Hunger Smart has 15 grams of protein to help you manage hunger as part of your weight loss plan. Glucerna, your good decision of the day.
Tell a hater, shh, you pop down. You ain't got the sense, you stop down. You got a lot of talk and you got a lot of gal, but big man, you pop down. Big man, you don't know this boy already popped down, boss. Big everybody that vote for me, a true to the finals. Stiffy, I come in for that crown. Come on and support July 7th, Phenomenal Fridays.
More sweet drinks are consumed in the Caribbean every day than anywhere else in the world. This worrying trend was announced by Director of the George Allen Chronic Disease Research Center, Dr. Alafia Samuels. She hopes other countries will follow Barbados' lead and implement a tax on these beverages. Dr. Samuels was speaking during the just concluded CARICOM Heads of Government meeting in Grenada.
You know that the Caribbean drinks the most soft drinks of anywhere in the world. Per capita, we drink on average 2 soft drinks per person per day. Nowhere else drinks that number of soft drinks. And so that is perhaps one of the reasons why the Prime Minister of Barbados was the first in the region to actually introduce a tax on sugary sweetened beverages. And we're hoping that more countries in the region will actually follow this in order to try to reduce, through fiscal means, some of the areas of concern.
Dr. Samuels says people, especially men, must be proactive with their checkups, as high blood pressure is called the silent killer for good reason.
You feel perfectly well, and then tomorrow you drop down in a stroke because your blood pressure was sky high, but you felt fine. And I must say that men are not doing as well as the women in terms of doing their checkups. Am I right or am I right? I'm right. Thank you. So we really need to encourage men to come to the health sector, but we also need to do more in terms of going out to where the men are, especially in the workplace, and screening for some of these diseases.
Little has been done to curb the harmful effects of alcohol abuse linked to chronic non-communicable diseases. This revelation from Dr. Alafia Samuel. Sharika Griffith tells us more.
CARICOM leaders received an update on the progress of the 2007 NCD Port of Spain Declaration. 10 years after its implementation, the heads have been told they have fallen short of some of their goals.
The only thing that the Port of Spain Declaration says about alcohol is that you should tax it and use the money to help health. The fact of the matter is that alcohol abuse is a major problem in the region, and there are lots of organizations looking at healthy food and physical activity and so on. Very few organizations looking at alcohol abuse. It's a powerful industry. They are linked with the entertainment industry. They are part of the culture. There are some people who feel it defines who we are, part of the economy.
Dr. Samuels was part of a team which evaluated the declaration and presented the findings to CARICOM heads on the final day of the Heads of Government Summit. She says greater tobacco control is also needed.
We are signatories to the Framework Convention on Tobacco Control, which is an international treaty which requires us to do certain things, and we have not been meeting all of these obligations. We have signed the document, but the implementation gap, as was mentioned earlier. So smoke-free should be everywhere. It is not. Taxes should be at 75% of the sale price of tobacco. It ranges from 60-something% to like 15%. Across the region, so there's potential for getting money.
Executive Director of the Caribbean Public Health Agency, Dr. James Hospitalis, says the 2016 IMF report paints a dire picture of the region's social security, largely in part to NCDs.
Our populations are no longer like this, with a lot of young people paying contributions. We've shifted. The population has grown, narrowed the base, so fewer people are paying contributions. Second, we're sick in the middle age. Too much obesity, hypertension, diabetes, a lot of payouts for preventable NCDs. And third, low returns on capital. Those are the three reasons why Caribbean Social Security, they're recommending increased retirement age to 67, restructure social. They have not addressed how do you bend the curve on this high level of preventable payouts.
CARICOM leaders have reiterated their decision to curb the ravages of NCDs through legislation and intensive public education. Reporting from St. George's, Grenada, I'm Sharika Griffith for CBC News.
Thanks, Sharika. Increased criminal activity in the Caribbean will be examined in great detail during the next Heads of Government sitting. Though it was not on the agenda during the most recent meeting in Grenada, Jamaica's Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he felt compelled to raise it as it affects all member states.
The use of violence as a means of resolving conflict, as a means of social control, as part of our social transactions, that it is becoming almost a feature of our societies. And governments have to take a proactive role in addressing this issue. So I've asked CARICOM to place this on the agenda for our next meeting, and heads have agreed. And so this will become an agenda item.
CARICOM leaders have moved to help end the violence in Venezuela. They issued a statement outlining their position at the end of the 30th summit there in Grenada. Incoming chairman Dr. Keith Mitchell says CARICOM has offered to mediate between the Nicolas Maduro-led government and those that oppose it.
CARICOM heads of government call for all parties to commit to engage in a renewed dialogue and negotiation leading to a comprehensive political agreement with established timetables, concrete actions, and guarantees to ensure its implementation for the well-being of the Venezuelan nation. In this regard, CARICOM heads of government offered their good offices to facilitate this dialogue. CARICOM heads of government mandated the chairman of conference to communicate with the parties concerned in Venezuela about this offer.
We'll give you a peek into the world of sports in just a moment, but before we get to that, here's a tip from Cooperators General Insurance.